All right, looks like we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Q&A. Hop on over to Zoom. And we'll see you over here to answer your questions. Hey, Robin.
Hey there, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad.
We're just waiting for everybody to hop in. Varun was here for a minute. Then he had to restart his Zoom for some reason. Here comes the crew.
Hey Kelly, hey Melissa. How you going?
Happy Wednesday, everybody. How's it going?
I had to laugh today. We had a meeting with Nikunj and Saha, and Nikunj goes, "Oh, you're an old one." He meant, of course, that I've been around for a long time, but it's like, yeah, I'm an old one.
But you got set up on the new calendar.
Yeah, so we're still messing around with it.
Awesome.
Yeah, not really.
Oh, yeah, stuff's having a hard time getting in yet right now. So
I'm about to cry.
What issue are
I
you?
deleted her as a user, and now
Nukun said that like we deleted myself when I never deleted it. So basically I got locked out of everything. And then he restored my user, but now it's like two different users, so I don't know which one I actually am. And I'm having an identity crisis because of it. And like the user that's me under team management like was my old one that was never deleted, so I don't know why it showed up that it was deleted because it wasn't. And now the one under profile is like a different one and they're not linked in any way, so I'm like, did I just lose everything? And I don't know. And
Yeah,
if I
Nikunj will get you squared away. I mean, we should be able to restore that.
One thing you restore it, and that's the problem. Is it's not. It's completely like it's like a different user, so I have no idea.
Got it.
Who I am, really, at this point. So, but we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And like worst case scenario, I delete the old user and like fix everything, change everything to this new one. But overall, the calendar looks great.
Yeah, well,
it does.
I just pinged him. He'll get you squared away.
Yeah, we've been talking back and forth for a while. So.
Cool. Varun, I think your camera went offline too. We're having all sorts of technical difficulties.
Yeah, I just tried restarting Zoom. That didn't work.
Yeah, I had a similar
machine.
I had to downgrade my Zoom.
How come?
Like the camera won't execute.
Oh, interesting.
But cool. Are we live?
We're live. Yeah. We're just hanging out. I'm gonna push a message out in Slack. I don't know where everybody is. Everybody's slacking off today.
I got a bunch of questions if we want to.
Yeah, go for it.
Fire away.
Yeah. So first, when the bulk request stuff is replaced with like in the contacts that you can just like send stuff out from there, will we be able to do like the repeat like we can in bulk requests right now?
Like doing a restart to the campaign? Is that what you're
like in bulk requests where there's that little arrow that you can like click it and it kind of like sends it out again? Like if that will be a thing.
Oh, yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the functionality of it. When we do the bulk actions, is that going to log back into the menu, the request?
Bulk request, yeah, it will.
Yeah, so then the functionality will still be there.
Also, do we know if that will be able to exist on the app?
On like the mobile app?
Yeah, like being able to just either send stuff out like a bulk request or like doing the repeat. Because we've had a couple clients like on the road where they need to like repeat something and all they have is like their phone. I was just wondering.
Yeah, so you can, if they want to do it just specifically for a contact, there's an add to campaign, I think in the contact details. The other way is if it's a one-off, you could build a trigger and have them add a tag to that contact and have that trigger add them back into a campaign or sequence. And they can also directly add to a campaign. But if you want to add a bunch of users, like not just one person, 100 people, 200 people to a campaign, there isn't a way to do that from mobile yet, but it is something that we can look at.
Okay.
Any timeline on when that bulk request
Cool,
thing?
Mary Sue.
All right, just to finish off what Melissa was asking there, we're almost done with the scheduling and the bulk request piece of it. Now just working on a bunch of actions. We're going really deep with this one. We're building functionality, and so you can say how many people you want to send to a day. You can say which days of the week to send, what time of the day to start. So if you're going to run a DR, for instance, you can pick 1,000 contacts and say send to 100 people a day, send at Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. So Monday to Friday, 9 a.m., it sends out to 100 people from that list of 1,000. So we're building a lot of that type of functionality. And so it's gotten slightly more complex, but it should still be out within a month.
Nice. That'll be really, really nice.
Yeah, that's exciting. Mary Sue has a question. When an email is set to primary in the system, what does that really mean? I have a couple of people who use Google My Business associated with their personal email.
Well, right now, when you set it primary, that's the one thing that it does is it pulls all the reviews, and when whichever one's primary, you connect the Google My Business on that one as well. And once you connect to Google My Business, it pulls the reviews from there, and the Google My Business stats show up in the dashboard from that. So those are really the only two things.
Okay, good. I just wasn't sure if it did something else that they wouldn't want to associate with their personal email.
No,
Thanks.
it just does those two.
And the next question that Mary Sue asked is, where are videos uploaded to the memberships hosted?
So right now it's all on Google Cloud Storage. I mean, it's a managed cloud storage that we use for all of our customers.
Thank you.
Travis, how can we easily add an image to the membership text area? Do we have to host the image somewhere else and put code in there or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's the best way right now, Travis. So I know we had the same problem with the email builder, with the email compose and campaigns. And at some point we made it possible to drag an image in and it would automatically upload and host the image for you. But I'm not sure if we did that same thing with memberships. So right now the best, I'll check. And if we don't have it, I'll add it to the list. But I think right now you have to post it somewhere else and link to it.
Gotcha, thanks.
Cool. Next up, Joe over in Facebook. If I'm building a long-term nurture campaign and I'm just adding to it as I go, how do I handle making sure as I'm adding steps, it sends the new action to those in campaign? So Joe, this is the classic hack of like every time you add something new, just add like a 360-day wait step below it. And then when you add the next piece that's new, you just delete that wait step and everybody who was in it will just fall to the next thing that you added.
That's the way that we ask customers to do it right now, and it's really hacky. But with the workflow builder that we've already started work on, the way this will work is if you add a new step, an email, and there's 20 people who've already crossed through the previous step, it'll ask you when you add that step, hey, there's 20 people who already finished or came to the step above this. So do you want all 20 of them to also get this email? And if you say yes, it sends to all those 20 as well. So you can keep adding, and anyone who's already reached the end, it'll ask you when you add a new step if you want to have them receive it. But for now, the best way, for today, the best thing you can do is what Chase said.
Hey, Varun, before I forget, I feel like we already thought this through and I'm just not aware. So last week we had somebody, we were troubleshooting something on one of the daily Q&As, I think, where basically they had one thing in a campaign, let's say an email. And then they had a trigger that said, if somebody's in this campaign and they reply, do something. But if you only have one thing, you basically go through and complete the campaign right away. So does the trigger consider people that have already completed the campaign, or do you need to add a wait step to give time for a campaign?
Need the wait step. So the way that trigger works is it does not care about whether they're currently actively in that campaign. It just thinks of, did they reply to a message that went out from that campaign? So the way it checks that is it checks the conversation view to see what was the previous message that went out and did it go out from that campaign. If that is true, then it will fire.
Smart. Awesome. Good to know. Hey, Sean. Let's see who is next. Stephanie, in the calendar link calendar, is there a way to make it begin on Sunday instead of Monday? Having people getting confused and booking the wrong day since they aren't used to the setup.
Yeah, not the calendar like under scheduling calendar, but like when you click the little link under calendars and settings, like that link that you can send to people, it always starts on Monday. I was just wondering if we can make it start on Sunday.
So let me see where that's at. The original plan was to make sure that setting that's under calendars applies to both. It applies inside the app and to the widget. That was kind of an oversight. I know we've already got this covered with the new calendar that's going out, but I'll find out on both of those.
Thank you.
But it should definitely work that way. Yes.
All right, and then the HTML, the new HTML builder, are we still looking at October 1st for the rollout?
Yeah.
Awesome. Kelly, this is more organizational, but how is the best way to keep Go High Level to make my own sales? I keep losing track of contacts and getting back with them. Any suggestions? Well,
opportunity pipeline.
Yeah, pipeline, right? Do you have a pipeline set up?
Point. Yeah. Do you have a pipeline?
I do. I tried it. I'm how do I do this here? I'm just trying to find something to make this to where I can remind myself that, I'll send it out for some quote or I'll send it out whatever, and I forget to get back. And I know the pipeline in there.
So use a decay trigger. So what you're saying is, oh, shoot, I forgot that person is in XYZ stage and has been just chilling there for 10 days, right?
Right.
You can use a decay trigger that says, hey, listen, if this person's stuck in a stage for too long, automatically add them to a campaign. Because this is the whole point, right? Use the automation to make up for the fact that what you're talking about is the classic human error, right? Like I have that problem. We all have that problem that, oh, shoot, I forgot to follow up with so-and-so about such and such. If it's a routine process you're going through and you have your stages lined out, you should be able to create generic campaigns that can fire off for you if you neglect to change the stage because you haven't moved them down the pipeline.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about with a decay trigger. I don't know.
Yeah, so in the triggers, there's something called an opportunity decay trigger. And it's basically states that if an opportunity is in a stage for longer than X amount of time, and you can do filters like is not already on a campaign, then take action. So that's like, if I get stuck at this stage, automatically put me on a campaign to try to get me unstuck. You want to see what that looks like?
Well, I'd love to see what that looks like.
Great. Let's go over to my favorite high-level account of all time, give or take, because I demo it all the time. Chris Lyle from Visionary Law Group. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So here's the deal. Simple example. Visionary Law Group sends out the pending engagement form to Steven Soto. At this point in time, we have spent a gosh awful lot of money and time on Mr. Soto. If he fails to return said pending engagement letter, we are wasting a lot of money. That would be a bad thing. But how do we make it so that the attorney remembers to daily constantly check on Steven? Well, we don't. This means that they've sent him the engagement letter, and then they just have a trigger that sits in here, and we can look at it right here once I figure it out. It's in here someplace. Hey, Varun, you know, it'd be awesome.
You went past it.
Well, not you telling me I went past it, but
alphabetize.
Alphabetize. That's right. So here we go. Here's the trigger. When it's stale opportunity in the pipeline leads, if they're in the stage pending engagement, they're not on a current campaign, and in Chris's and they don't have the tag hold. See, Chris is like a ninja person here, and they've been in there for longer than 1 day, i.e., they get stuck. Right? Automatically put them on pending engagement, hot lead, ghosted the campaign, which I assume means, hey, Sean, just want to remind you, we're looking forward to representing you. Be sure to return your signed documents right away. If you still have questions or anything is holding you up, let me know. You can just reply to this text at any time. You see, we're reminding them to send in the engagement letter. That is the classic example of the stale opportunity trigger, and you should be able to apply it to your own sales pipeline.
Oh, I'd love some more training on this. This is fabulous.
Okay.
I just added it to the list for a high-level how-to.
Okay. Thank you, Chase. So there you go. That's how you fix that problem.
Thank
We're
you.
up to 20 participants. This is exciting.
All right, let's see. Where do we leave off? Josh, what's happening, Josh? How have you been? Is HighLevel still looking at signal wire? If so, any time frame in mind?
I mean, it is still one of the top providers when we decide to go that direction. There's a couple of things we're working on before we start going down that path. So I still think it's this year, but we don't have a solid timeline there.
Okay,
We're working on artificial intelligence, Josh.
I'm
I'm not joking. That's
Seriously.
not a joke.
That'd be cool. No, Twilio requires like commitments, and then you get a discount. So I wasn't sure if I should.
Yeah. Okay. So this year, so our goal is by the end of the year, I'd like to see a signal wire integration and a SendGrid integration that's native, specifically with this idea in mind. So it's definitely on the list, and definitely something we will do. It's just not something we'll do in the. I just say, set it as your Christmas present. You shouldn't be disappointed.
All right. Yeah, their commitments are quarterly, so I'll go ahead and sign the next one.
That's not terrible.
Thank you.
Yep.
Josh, you had a second question. A game changer for us would be to update a contact via API by ID.
Yeah, that's coming. So that'll be the week after. So this week we're planning to release appointments API. The week after there should be contacts opportunities.
That's gonna be sick. Awesome. Thank you.
Josh, are you and Varun? We were on a spotlight session earlier, and I brought this up, and they were not aware of a dev partner program. If you are a developer working with the API, should you be going to register somewhere, Varun, to be kept closer in the loop?
I think Robin put the form out in the group, but I think Robin can hook Josh up.
Yep, I'll put it in the chat.
So Josh, yeah, make sure that you're on that list so that you are kept up to speed with new API updates.
Cool, that'd be great. We're doing a lot of segmentation just because essentially we got rid of triggers altogether. We just send one trigger out, and then we're using Google to do all the segmentation because you can have multiple tags, like a million criteria. Then we send it back in, and that seems to be working pretty well. So that would be huge. Thank you so much for that.
When you say Google, do you mean Dialogflow?
I have no idea. My developer does it all. I just know we send one webhook out to Google, and then it does all the computation, all the segmentation there, and then it sends it back with the correct one action that needs to take place.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we confirmed a spotlight session next week with Matt DeSeno, who's doing crazy stuff with Dialogflow. So I think that'll be really fun for everybody to check out.
Sick. All right.
All right. So next up, David, sub-accounts are able to enter their SMTP credentials. Is there a reason why they cannot enter their Twilio credentials? It's the same sort of stuff.
Wait.
Sorry, what was the question?
So at the sub-account level, you're able to enter in SMTP that would override the master. They're saying, why can't they also do that with Twilio? Is there a reason why?
No,
Well,
you can.
I mean,
you just do it from the agency dashboard.
Yeah, but he's saying
just
why can't you? Yeah, so he's saying why can't you do this? And actually, this was the crazy idea I wanted to talk to you about earlier, Varun. But I mean, I see this as like a long-term need for most people. Like, I don't know that I want to encourage people to have their clients sign up for Twilio. I kind of think what would be a better direction for us to take is to help people automate the billing for that. I hear this sort of concern about like, how do I build my clients for Twilio? How do I build my clients for Twilio? Oh, never mind, forget it. There's no way to do that. Okay, how do I sign them up for Twilio? How do I sign them up for Twilio? And I think that's a really bad direction. I want this product to be sold as a SaaS product out to the customer. I don't want the real estate agent to be instructed to go sign up with Twilio, which is what people are doing. And I think it's mostly because people are trying to defray those costs or not have to think about them. So I think maybe what we need to do is talk through how could we help people do that by basically doing the sub account billing for them through a Stripe account or something, their Stripe account. So that, because I think this request will keep coming up and I think it'll be asked in different ways, but I think the better solution is to turn it into a money-making opportunity for the agency.
And there's a few high levelers that are already working on that type of so I'm not sure who to go with. And, it's kind of like.
I feel you. And we won't have anything anytime soon.
Okay.
But I mean, this sort of hit me today because I think that I think it's the better route to go. And if we could find a path to it that's relatively constrained, I think we could do some pretty great stuff. But I defer to Varun because, these things are easy to think up and hard to do.
Would it be easier with something like Plivo or another product?
No. It's just building stuff on our side, right? So we just have to keep track. So realistically speaking, I think the simplest way to go would be we just need to keep track of every message your client sends, right? And allow you to assess them a rate on every message they send. And what I would personally do is I would force you guys to bucket it. So it'd be like, what do you want to charge your client for every 1,000 messages? What do you want to charge them for the platform? How many free messages are you going to give them with the platform fee? And then basically what we need to do is watch that count. And as you come down towards that free count, as soon as they hit it, we'll pre-charge the $49. Let's say it's $49 for the next 1,000 messages. We'll pre-charge the 49 and then tick, 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 tick. We'll refresh their counter. And every time they it's just like what Twilio does to you, right? They count down how much is in your account as far as dollars go and recharge your account. I think we would do the same thing, but we do it based upon message count, not upon dollar count.
If it could be managed, I think it would be fine. It is definitely a problem.
Well, I think agencies would love that because then we'd be like, hey, look, go charge it here. We'll just automate the SaaS billing through a Stripe account for you. And then we'll automate the Twilio billing through Stripe for you. And I think that becomes an overnight moneymaker and helps scale the SaaS model up a lot faster.
And actually, Sean, I think we should look at Active Campaign because they do this for texting, even though it's one-way texting. They have a credit system, so it's like an agency user could buy 100 credits, and that can be dictated towards the amount of text they want to use. But Active Campaign has a credit system.
I've seen their crediting system for sure. I would be a little bit more forceful about it. I wouldn't let people. I don't want to. The more complexity you introduce, the harder you make it. I would just I would force all of you through what I think is a reasonable model. What do you want to do for every 1,000 messages and just, hit them with a price tag. They'll like that too. Your customers would prefer that. They don't want a bunch of variability of credits and stuff. But it effectively is the same thing. It's just a fixed amount of credits.
Yeah, Martin brings up a good point about different countries, and that's why I think Chris from Twilio is doing it the other way, right? So basically you set a threshold of, okay, when your client's usage dips below $10, it's going to auto charge them how much?
Yeah, so maybe we do that or something. But then the question is then, are you upcharging the minutes at all? Or because in that case, you always have to, you could just add a percentage to the charge. So
yeah,
it seems like
that's what he asked.
Really overthinking this. Why not just tell them this is how many SMSs this client sent out, this is how many minutes, this is how much Twilio charged you for that, and then just let them do that thing.
Well, a lot of times people want to pre-charge because they don't want their client to load up a 30,000. I mean, this is all in people's heads. I don't think it happens as much as people fear it might, but I understand where they're coming from. They're like, well, what happens when my customer takes a 30,000 person list that they scraped off the internet and does a text blast out and charges up $500 worth of Twilio costs? And now I have to wait to the end of the month to charge them. Oh, their credit card failed, and I'm not. And now what? I got to chase after them.
I mean, the safer thing there seems to be just set rate limits on the account.
Well, but it would be cool. But then when they hit that rate limit, now what?
You have to relax it. So you need to jump on with your client. Hey, are you still doing something legit? Are you still going to pay me? Cool, let me increase your limit by another 1,000.
I just think it'd be a lot more fun to take the money up front. And I think the agencies would prefer that because then they get paid first.
I built this out about a year ago that we've been implementing it, and we just copy Twilio. Exactly how you set up Twilio, that's how we set up our clients. And so it hits a minimum and it reloads at $100, $1,000, whatever is that. Exactly.
So that system will be perfect. It just seems like 5 people will use it, and it seems like a lot to build for 5 people.
I don't know. We should put that to the group. We've got 21 people here. How many people think they would use that system? Drop a 7 in the chat, or what the marketers
this is
say.
like saying how many of you think you're going to buy a BMW? I'm sure everyone will put their hands up. Everyone thinks they're going to do it.
I don't know.
But here's a problem. I ran some decent sized SMS lists, not through HighLevel per se, but we have that issue. Like we'll run a campaign or something via SMS, and then the customer will get this bill for all these overages of SMS, and they're complaining about the cost of doing this. Now, even though we know we made money for them, we know we did. But the point is, they're still complaining about that bill that comes in. I've almost gotten to the point where I wanted to let the customer just pay directly for that bill and let them use as much as they want. In the case of broadcast SMS and so on and so forth, we have an issue with also phone usage. We're going to start using the phone dialers and pushing as a CRM, and salespeople using CRM. You're going to run those like 6-second bill, whatever. You're going to run those bills up, high with messages in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something we need to think about. And the problem is, I don't want to get into the battle where I'm making a penny on a message and I got to fight with the customer every month. I just want to get my monthly bill I want to get my money from them, and then not worry about that. So we either have to have it, and I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying.
Maybe the answer is you cut both ways. Like we just in some situations you could just check a box, and we could enable the Twilio credentials at the sub account level, and it'll be in there in the account level settings, and they could go add their own Twilio account in if they want to, and then later on we move it back to, and that probably would solve it for a lot of you, right? Because then you just say, yeah, go to Twilio, Mr. or Mrs. Real Estate Agent, sign up, and come back and throw your credentials in there, and you're good to go.
I'm pushing into a market now where we've got very multi-level, multi-location custom businesses. And, I'd rather them sign up for their own account and not have to deal with it. I want to just get my monthly.
Well, that's fair. Thing. I will say, there are some larger deals that we've been working on. And one of the big challenges those people brought up was, well, how do we handle the Twilio costs, right? And so I guess we could, I've always been afraid of is that a hard step for most people to take, right? Is that a hard thing to ask your customers to do? And maybe it's not. And I will say, from a development perspective, it's a lot easier to at least give all of you that option, and then you can SOP that down to that level. And then a lot of people have asked about that. What do you think about that idea, Varun?
Of just setting limits?
No. Saying
allowing people to update that video
yeah, right. Because right now you're forcing the work on the agency owner. Hey, agency owner, collect the credential, go into your agency account.
A lot of this is just some people will want it and some people won't. So we really have to make this something that's an option per location. When you create it, you need to be able to pass it in. So across the board.
And this is something but
that's possible.
And it's also something that came up in the integrator call to do it through the API. So, I don't think we're far off from implementing it.
I think maybe that's
how it would have to work. It will have to work across the board. If someone's using a Zap or the API to create an account, they're able to pass in video there. And they should also be able to pass in an option to say, do you want your client to be able to set that video?
Yeah, Stephanie, I think would it be okay if it worked at the account level, Stephanie? You're saying off and on assigned to users, but I was thinking,
the one thing we might want to think about, and I hate to see a dev community member's idea just get steamrolled, but it happens, right? Is with Twilio, I think the way his is going to work is a subdomain. So imagine you're the agency and you can send your clients to credits.youragency.com, and you're like, yeah, you need to put in your credit card, and it's just going to bill you for your usage. And I think that takes it out of your hands completely, right?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I want to solve this problem, because I think for every existing team community member and anybody who's trying to sell this as a SaaS, I think it's a sticking point, and I think it's something we need to address. So we'll take this back on our side, and we'll run this down. I also think personally, as we move into larger deals and people who are going to be selling this on a big time basis as a SaaS, I think, and we actually have some of those people already. I just think this will help accelerate that process.
And for us, it's kind of we've got smaller clients and bigger clients. I don't want them to fool around with Twilio for the smaller clients, because they don't even.
That's why, as Varun just pointed out, it's going to be a per location level sort of thing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Can I ask a follow-up to this a little bit?
Yeah.
It's kind of tied to this. So speaking about SMS and the situation of trying to use SMS and long codes and stuff as more of a heavy marketing broadcast campaign type feature. What about like things like pooling numbers and so forth? Can we support that stuff, or are we supporting that stuff?
Not right now. Yeah, no, but all of this is on the list. So when we do this, when we're about to add signal wiring, we're going to look at a lot of these things. There's some countries where you need to have separate SMS only numbers and separate voice numbers because Twilio doesn't support a single number that can do SMS and voice. And there's cases like yours where people want to use a number pool for texting, like purchase a number pool and use that as the from number. So if you're sending to 500 people and you have 5 numbers, every 100 people, it takes a different number. So all of these we are looking at, but nothing that's going to come out soon.
Well, so the other piece is like if I'm dialing out to a 503 area code, I want to dial from a 503 area code, for example. That's a very common sales use case, right? But one thing I will say, so in my conversations with Twilio, my conversations with other people in the telecom space, and you can actually see this in the pricing that you guys are getting these emails. A lot of the carriers are starting to stand up pay for play situations. So AT&T, Verizon's been the most aggressive. They're now allowing you to, it's essentially, they're calling it short code light. But basically they're allowing you with an upcharge to send as many messages as you want out of a number. So the carrier will stop blocking because Twilio is going to have to pay a fee. It's like a toll. But I think where the downside is the device people, so Apple and Google, they're also putting in all these sort of blocks and those sorts of things, right? So we'll see how that goes. I don't know that. I think in the long term there'll be less limitations on long codes. The question is just, does that help you? And if you move to a pool, would that change your outcome? I don't know. I'm not sure it would. If it's a how many messages can I send kind of thing, I think that limitation goes away, which is a positive thing. But if it's a will I get blocked kind of thing, I don't know that. I actually think we're going to go more to an email world where there's a reputation that's somehow tied back to the owner of the account or the social security number, or I don't know what they're going to use, but I think we're going to move to an email world where you sort of get a reputation around your number, and that reputation dictates your eventual spam score.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a lot of flux going on in the space, of SMS and phone numbers.
I do like the idea that they're gonna allow you to send much higher volumes on long codes. I think that's positive.
Yeah.
For the right senders, that's going to be just nothing but great news. So that's already happening and already rolling out under the hood. I think Twilio is just choosing to. I don't know if it's optional for them or not, but I think they're just choosing to straight up enable it. So if it's a Verizon long code, you get charged a little more to send to those now.
Sorry, what's a long code?
Sorry, a normal phone number.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought. I just didn't know.
Versus a short code, which is those little marketing ones. And those are like the fast lane numbers, but they cost insane amounts of money. And if you ever
are we able to use those at all for like if we want somebody to like text a word to instead of like doing it to our like Twilio number, would we be able to pull those numbers in and do like 5555 instead of like a long one?
So like text awesome to 5555.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're insanely expensive. So
okay, so it's not worth it.
If you want to pay a couple $1,000 a month just for the number, then,
absolutely not.
Okay, well there we go. See, the problem is I think no one. I mean, it's convenient that the inbound use case is almost the only use case where that would ever be useful because we all know when we get text messages from those numbers, we're like, oh, give me a break,
Mm-hmm.
And I think over time, Apple and Google are going to stamp those out a lot faster because there's less of them.
Right.
Would there be enough economy of scale, Sean, for HighLevel to have a short code? I mean, individually,
possibly, but I guess I'm just trying to think about who we represent, right? And I mean, if you're doing marketing and advertising at a local level, I mean, I think short codes are death. Who gets a text from a plumber on a short code?
I don't know. I've been doing. I started in that business, so I don't. HighLevel is new for me. I started the kind of SMS business.
It just all depends. I mean, look, we're not here to dictate to you. That's the most important thing to remember. I have my opinions on all kinds of things, and I'm not. I'm happy to talk it through, and I like talking it through because I like to be wrong just as much as I like to be right. But At the end of the day, if everyone says no, we want short codes, and you guys vote them up, you'll get short codes. Don't get me wrong, no matter what my opinion is. Yeah. But I still think from a marketing perspective, for me, it feels weird to get a text from a short code. I almost always ignore them.
Yeah, and then from the direction of the company, I mean, we're trying to move into AI, and it's all about nurture, which requires that personal. And so with personalization, you got to have actual phone numbers. I think if you go that shortcut route, you take that away.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we use short code on postcards, but it's just like such a small thing. That's the only way I would ever.
Well, I think the use determines it, right? If you're selling coupons to restaurant customers, short codes fast, easy to remember. You don't have to remember a phone number. It just depends on what your customer is.
That's true. Yeah, that's potentially accurate. So again, if we've got enough restaurant folks and they want that done, we'll absolutely get that done. It's definitely on the roadmap. I mean, I think our big things, right, are obviously getting the calendar out, which is sort of out. It's sort of not, but I mean, rolling out well. Actually, Varun, can you give a general update on the beta release of the calendar, how things are going? What does a live release timeline look like for everybody, etc.?
So Nikunj is here. He can give a better update there than I can.
Yeah, good call. Nikunj, thanks for coming.
Hey. Yeah, so we again, like I think some of the guys were on the beta call for today. So I would say in 10 or 15 days, once more people will start using it, let's say 20 or 30 customer will start using it. And once we will knock out all the feedbacks or all the minor issues, it should be good in few days only.
Okay, so you think as soon as 2 weeks?
Yeah, right.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay, so there you go. So 2 weeks from now, we'll have our brand new calendar fully released. And in the meantime, I haven't heard of any big issues. I use it every day. I don't have any known issues. Two other fronts here. One is just trying to make sure that we're at parity in the services that we have with everybody else out there. So that's the brand new drag and drop email builder and the drag and drop workflow builder. Those are the things that I think will really level us up in our core feature set. But the other big thing we're working on is bringing in way more automation on the nurture side. So we'll have, I'll hopefully show this off in a really cool demo video tomorrow. Varun, did you see Monix demo today, by the way? Oh,
I haven't.
I know you haven't. Varun, you're muted.
I said I did, but it isn't at a place where we can actually show it off yet.
Shoot, well, we're getting close. We're trying to conversationalize the booking flow. So instead of, hey, do you want to book an appointment? Sure, here's a calendar link. It'll be, hey, do you want to book an appointment? Sure, great, I've got tomorrow at 3 and Monday at 4. And then you can say, great, I'll take Monday, and it'll book you in. So,
that is so awesome.
Yeah, so I think that will, I mean, Vern, is it likely that will happen in the next 30 days?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. So in the next 30 days, we'll release that. Then we're also working towards a native integration with Dialogflow in the next 30 days as well. And so for any of you who don't know what Dialogflow is, that's okay. I don't expect you to. It is Google's native AI platform. And the goal here is we have a lot of community members, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but enough, who have created some pretty amazing full-on AI-driven bots in all kinds of verticals and circumstances that I think will bring a lot of value. So by bringing that native Dialogflow integration in, it'll allow them to plug those in, and we'll start bringing some of those people out into the market. Matt DeSeno, I think, is up, what, next Thursday, you said, or this Thursday?
Next week.
Okay.
Today
cool.
We did one with that dental agency who had Quentin build them a bot all within HighLevel. Really great. Perfect. Really cool.
Good.
Really robust.
So those of you who haven't seen that, I haven't seen it yet. Definitely check out Quentin's presentation. He's kind of in that vein. Also with Matt DeSeno next week. I think for me, the biggest thing I still want to harp on is how do we get more people onto appointments? How do we make sure they show up for those appointments? How do we calculate the revenue for those appointments? Those are the things that we're really focused on. And I feel like if we could just hammer those things and get it as perfect as possible, I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, if you're an agency, how is that not the thing you should be doing for your clients, right? So for us, that's kind of our focus at the moment.
Chase is one thing that showed how to build a form that you would follow up after an appointment. That is just so awesome. I'm starting to use
Absolutely.
it. starting to build it out for clients now. It's great because right after the appointment, I get that form. I don't have to go into HighLevel. I just fill in the form and everything happens. And that was just awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, and we're going to try to make that even easier because
is this the email flow or is this a different one?
What's that?
Is this the email flow or is it email?
The email flow. Yeah. The email flow is by far and away. And for those of you who don't know, this is really cool idea. There's a video in the YouTube channel where after an appointment, you're sending an email to your client and you're just asking, hey, what happened? Did Sean show up and buy? Did Sean show up and not buy? Or did Sean no show? And literally they just have to click the link in the email and you can automate everything inside HighLevel off the back of the click. And if they click if you click Sean showed and bought, we just pop a form and it asks one question. How much did Sean spend? And right there you have the revenue capture piece. So all they have to do is fill that one form in. And what do we have? We have every customer we sent them, how many appointments showed up, how much money did those appointments generate, like revenue reporting all the way end to end. And because we now have attribution tracking, that revenue will then get tied back into the ad. So as the marketer, you should be able to look at the attribution reporting and the Google Ads reporting, the Facebook ads reporting, and see where the revenue is coming from and optimize those campaigns accordingly.
And for Kelly, I'm using it for my sales, Kelly. That's how I'm keeping track of people. And I added a follow-up date on there and built a trigger that says 1 day before the day I'm supposed to follow up with them, send me an email and a text. So that's automated. So yeah, it's just even personally it's killing it on me.
RJ's question was the warm call is essentially three-way. So it's a warm transfer or cold transfer, RJ. And there's a video on the YouTube channel if you want to see how that actually works. But in effect, yeah, it's cold transfer or warm transfer. It's not three-way calling yet, but it is an actual it is a warm or cold transfer. Travis, when building a review process, I'd like to get a feel for their opinion prior to sending them the review request, like a frown or a smiley face. Well, that's easy, right? Because we, if you think about the survey tool, you can do radio buttons and you can use images for those. So you upload your frowny faces, right? And then based upon the survey, you can qualify or disqualify and then decide what you want to do with them. So if they hit the smiley face, qualify, send to a review site. If they hit the frowny face, disqualify, send to, so sorry. And this is kind of what Fur Patel and crew built on top of for Review Panda.
Yeah, so my question was more like, does it matter if I send them to like a funnel page or a website page? Like, is there any like fundamental difference in those or?
I mean, I think the funnel's fun because then no, there isn't. But I mean, I think that's either one works.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a funnel because it's simpler and I don't know, not a whole website. But no, there's no actual difference.
Okay, I was just checking.
Yeah. David Watson, any sort of time plans for improvements on the membership area to improve customizations like background images? Good news, David. There already is custom JavaScript and CSS for the memberships, both at the memberships globally and for each individual product as well. So that's already in there.
He or she's going to get all these reminders and then 5 hours.
Sorry.
I was like, whoa, she's changed.
I'm getting Kelly chasing the video.
Cool. What other questions do people have? Comments, feedback?
Yeah, guys, I have regarding the chat widgets. How do I manage? I have multiple locations under one website having the ability to message into the individual locations. Like I have customers that own a whole state, like a franchise, right? Mm-hmm. And if there's only one website, it just lists the locations on the website.
Sure.
But if I want to contact one of the branches directly because I'm near that location, or whatever the case may be, how do I do that?
Oh.
How can I have multiple chat widgets somehow and link them to different locations?
Well, I mean, you could you can do it by page, right? So if I'm on a location page, you can load the locations widget.
If I have a separate location page for them, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Although in general, what I find is those websites are designed to sort of pique interest, get general questions answered. They're not necessarily, I mean, most of the time, right? Like if I don't know, if I went to McDonald's.com right now, they had a chat widget and I was like, hey, I got a question for my local McDonald's. I think they'd be like, call them. I don't know. It seems like a non-common use case.
Right. It is. It's heavy equipment. It's like it's heavy equipment. People are like renting bulldozers and things. These people and like they have, they have service questions. They have parts questions. They have definitely location related question.
Well, so thinking this through, you could do a bot, right? So you could have one sub account that has the chat widget, and you could say, okay, if anybody initiates a live chat, put them in a campaign that asks them a question. Okay, which state are you in, or whatever?
Or what location is this for?
And then when they answer, you have triggers waiting for all the options. That triggers goes to Zapier, brings them back into the corresponding sub account, puts them in a campaign that then sends the next message back to them. So there's some setup to be done, but I think we can make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of maybe like I don't know, JavaScript, something to pop up. Because you almost have taken from clicking on the widget before you pop the widget up, you have to kind of intervene right there and know what script to load.
Well, but at the same time, the counter argument to that, and I kind of like Chase's approach, is if your goal is to kind of capture that person and get them on a conversation, make the workload easier on them and harder on the system, right, or on the operator or whoever. So that way you just get them in the chat, capture their info.
Right. And I was thinking if you put it on one site, it's so many scripts, it would be like ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's why I like Chase's approach possibly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. Chase, I may ping you on that one, Chase.
Oh, great. Here we go.
I may ping you on that one. We've been warned.
In this vein, I know, Robin, we've talked about this a couple of times. Sean, maybe we've seen more and more requests of people wanting to do cross sub-account stuff. Do we have that conversation moving somewhere on the dev team of like triggers that work across sub-accounts or things like that?
Is this mostly for lead sharing or why did these requests?
What's the use case? Yeah.
I think it's people like Glenn who are saying, look, I do marketing across towns or states or whatever. And so I have sub accounts for each town or state or whatever, but I catch the leads from my main site. I've SEO'd this site.
Okay. So that's it. Yeah. So that is the common use case that I hear, which is lead distribution. Yeah. So this is also like the rank and rent business has this issue. So there's definitely, that's definitely something we've talked about. Sort of a ability to distribute leads between sub accounts based upon criteria. That's definitely something that's I think is on our roadmap. It's like all things though. It's like, well, where does it fall in the priority list and why? It's not a bad idea. It's a great idea, right? But who needs it? Why do we need it? How many people really need it? Glenn really needs it. I hear that, but now it's like all these things, like where do we take these? And this is why we're generally speaking rocking the ideas board, because it's too hard for us to, like, if we just get on every meeting and say whoever shouts the loudest wins, I don't think that's a very smart idea. But I do.
Plus, you can already make it happen with Zapier, right? So it's
true. But I do believe that there's a big group of people out there who do rank and rent. I do think there's a type of agency there to serve. I do think there's a higher idea there. And I think if we can find a way to implement it off the back of that, and also hit Glenn's use case, which I think we could do, I think it makes a lot of sense. And again, it's like everything. It's like we added.
With some of this, there's a lot of complexity. Like Josh was on the call. I think Josh or someone else.
Yeah, Josh is the problem.
Yeah, and someone else. I remember I helped someone else set this up as well, where they were generating leads across the US, but for each state, they had sold the leads to a particular location. So each of those people were locations under their main account. And depending on which state the lead came in for, they wanted it to go into that particular account. And so we built a spreadsheet which had each state code, and based on the state code, which is the high-level location API key that the leads needed to go into. And when the lead came in, they would look up the spreadsheet based on the state code, find out what the API key is, and use that API key to make the request so it goes into the right account. So there's a lot of ways to achieve this right now, even if you want to do exactly that. But yeah, you can.
Robin actually built a way more complex one, because what I actually often hear is I'm generating leads for different zip codes. I have a different zip code, and even within that zip code, I've sold it to 4 people. And then of those 4 people, they only are going to take a certain number of leads. And so once I reach that number of leads, I need to cut that person off because they've only paid me for so many leads. So there's a lot of that complexity. So the idea, right, is how do we capture that idea? Like, where does it begin and where does it end? We added signatures to the forms thinking, oh, that's what people need to replace PandaDoc. But in reality, we needed to go at least one step further and make it PDFable. And even once that's done, I'm sure someone will say, oh, that's not quite it. So we're starting to run up against these use cases where it's like, well, if we're going to do this, wow, it's going to be a big effort. So we really better be ready, because we don't want to just come out with something that's half baked.
And I think another useful thing to think about when we're talking through some of these decisions is because we have the signature in there, we're going to make it PDFable, downloadable, all of those things. But at that point, it's still not going to be enough. And there's going to be another use case, driving us closer and closer to HelloSign or DocuSign or, in that direction. And I think one thing that we can think about is, what is our main goal? If it's really about converting leads to customers. So where does this fit into that story? Is the goal of this form to help us convert leads to customers, or is it to help us get contracts signed? And if it's to convert leads to customers, if it's not required for that, you don't do it.
Right. And in this case, I'd say I know why people do it, because on the agency side, that's how I convert a lead to a customer, right? They're a customer because they signed my agreement, and that's how I'm now going to serve them as an agency or a law firm or a plumber sometimes, or like an estimate for a roofer or something, right? So I do think that falls in our wheelhouse, but I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment, which is trying to make sure that the things we're tackling are going to help all of you continue to convert more leads to customers, because that's kind of from our perspective, that's our mission.
Yeah, but Sean, I think there's something before that you could take advantage of, and kind of in my use case, I'm not even getting into the fact of lead generation per se for these individual locations and so forth. I'm talking about just providing tools that a tool sits on a website. Well, I guess it is lead generation. I'm capturing some data, person coming in, but it's just a tool at that point, right? It's just a communications tool to help somebody get into this particular business and inquire, hey, who do I talk to about this, getting my truck fixed, getting this repaired, doing this, XYZ. That's a profit generation level right there before you even get into the nurturing the customers.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it, but at the same time, I don't
is closer to white label SaaS, right? Is what Glenn's talking about, is almost like white label SaaS. It's bringing all of these businesses in setting them up with websites, with basic campaigns. That is white label SaaS.
Yeah, I want to sell reputation, a two-way text chat, and a website to every customer in the world if I can, right? And then if above that they want lead gen, they're doing other things, they want to pay for more agency services, that's great, that's fine. But it's easier to go out and say, hey, we'll put these 3 things out that you don't have today. You don't have a web tool to capture chat. You don't have any of these tools on your site right now. I think that's a simple sell.
And I want to support that too. We're not trying to discourage that at all.
Yep.
I guess we're always thinking, well, but once you do put that web chat on the site, right, they're going to capture leads. So what the heck happens to those leads, and isn't it the right answer, sort of holistically speaking, to help them move that lead into a customer?
But it's a much longer sales cycle and more difficult sale to approach it from that perspective.
So you should be able to sell like you're selling, right? How are we getting in your way for that sale right?
It's not that we're getting in the way. I'm looking at it from the other side. You guys are helpful.
Yeah. I think it's just semantics, right? We're saying, look, as a high level, we have this lens when we evaluate ideas. Does it fit the lead to sale?
So I guess this is the second biggest use case that we have is, if you look at our customers, a huge chunk is lead to customer, and the next, I think, big group that we have is people selling us as white label SaaS, or just selling these individual tools. So that is the second biggest use case that we have.
Yeah, and I think there's way. I see huge forward motion in that as well, because I think there's a lot of people who could sell us as white label SaaS in lots of different situations. I'm always keen though on the idea that, let's say you hand this tool over to anybody, how many of those people then turn back at you and say, well, yeah, but where do the leads come from? Right.
Well, at the end of the day, it's all the same thing. If you're giving somebody a website with live chat, the goal of that website is to generate leads through the live chat, right?
Yeah.
It's all the same.
I agree. I don't think these are opposing goals at all.
Oh, they're not. No.
I think you're right. I think the way you think about it, Glenn, is right, which is one precedes the other. So you start with one and you move to the other.
Yeah, I just come from, my background is in DMS systems, the automotive truck big, and they, they're complex, big sales. I mean, they took
right.
a year. They took a year to, and I don't want to do that. Like I want to generate revenue quick,
Right.
and
well, and I like what you're saying. It's easy to just show up and say, hey guys, hold on, let's just throw this chat icon on your website, and bam, guess what? You got conversations.
We'll notify the salespeople, whatever we have to do, we'll do that. And then, we educate them as they go, right? And we become more of that solution. But for me, to be honest with you, part of my motivation of saying this too, I got to be honest, is also this whole learning curve of GHL. I'm just moving into this. I'm 2 months, a little bit more than 2 months in now. There's so much there. It's like amazing. And yet it's the buffet. It's like, what do I choose? Like, what do I do?
Well, and that's something we're keenly aware of as well, right? We're trying to simplify this process. We're trying to, instead of just throwing out big feature after big feature after big feature, we're trying to actually round out a lot of these offerings, so that way they're just a simpler path to success for everybody, because we're just trying to get everybody to get to that one point where you're bringing in some kind of lead, you're putting them on a campaign, you're getting them booked into an appointment, and you're delivering that appointment through the door. Like, if we can get everybody on that one page to begin with, I just think you can go up and down from there. But if you just never do anything else, actually, that should make your clients a lot of money. That should be the thing that most people want in their business. And so our goal is to try to kind of keep moving along that line. And I whether you sell it as a SaaS product to begin with and then move out from there, whether you jump right into it and sell it as a whole service, as you go into, our goal is to support all the models. You could do it as a retainer model, you could do it as a pay-per lead model, you could do it as a pay-per-show model. We don't care. We want to support all those models. But net, it's, hey, I am the person in your world who helps move people from lead to customer, whether I generate that lead to begin with or not. I'm the person, that money that just came through the door, that's me. I belong to that money, and that's why I'm here. That's why you're paying me. To me, that seems like the most cogent argument to why a marketing agency would stay with why a customer would stay with its agency.
All right, everyone, I hate to be the buzzkill. We just hit the hour. Ray, let's make your question the last one. It's around Power Dialer. This actually brings up a curiosity of mine. Basically the question is, look, somebody gets power dialered. We didn't accomplish the objective. How do we make sure we're power dialing them again? And so my first question is, Sean or Varun, so if you have a power dialer step, there's nothing to say that you couldn't put another one further in the same campaign. Now, when I hit the power dialer, I'm stuck there until the call is made via the power dialer, right? What unsticks me? Is it at the end of the call when the modal pops up as soon as you click an option? That's what makes me move or not move again? Sean, Varun?
Oh yeah, that's right. So that's what does it. So you can have a campaign with stop or reply on. Mm-hmm. So if you say the call is completed, you can make sure that the campaign stops there. If the call wasn't completed, it's going to queue up another call.
Okay, so the modal pops up and I click voicemail. Well, that means the call was not completed, right? So I'm going to keep rolling down the campaign.
Yeah.
So Ray, you could have
steps.
Yeah, maybe you have your next step as a voicemail, and the voicemail says, "Hey, we just tried to reach you. We'll call you back again tomorrow." And then you have another power dialer step set for 1 day later, and then tomorrow they're going to be back in the power dialer. So you can do that, or your idea of having a pipeline and then trigger saying, if I drag somebody to a certain stage, add them to a campaign that has a new power dialer step, so now they're back in the dialer. So it's just a matter of how you want to build your flow of stacking multiple power dialer steps in campaigns that stop on response. And so, Varun, do you know off the top of your head the things in the modal that would trigger stop on response and wouldn't?
Completed is the only thing that will trigger the stop on response. All the other options will let them keep going.
Gotcha.
Cool. I've experienced where it doesn't have like a rhyme or a reason when you finish the call. It just sometimes it'll go away, sometimes it'll stay, and sometimes the box will pop up. So there's a lot of inconsistency there. I don't know if anybody else can echo that for me.
Sure, like I can help you with that. Can you just send me the account details, like which campaign are these people getting added to, which location is this, and your login email, and we can check to see what's up.
I'll send it to you. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. Hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.